Hi students, today's topic is pituitary gland, the master endocrine gland. Master endocrine gland. I told you in the previous session, the master control center is hypothalamus because it controls the total endocrine system through the master endocrine gland called as pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is also called as hypophysis. Hypophysis. Because it is structurally, anatomically very closely related to the hypothalamus. Where is hypothalamus? The floor of the diencephalon is called as hypothalamus. Very closely, this is a hypothalamus. You see here, students. So this is a hypothalamus. Entire structure here, what we are seeing here, hypothalamus. The neurons from the hypothalamus are arising from the hypothalamus and extending up to the pituitary gland. This is the pituitary gland. This ones and this ones. This is the posterior lobe. When the scale is rotated, it is called as posterior lobe. Whereas this one is the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, anterior side and posterior side. Both are very closely anatomically associated with the hypothalamus, and that's why it's called as hypophysis. The other name of pituitary gland is hypophysis because it is associated with the hypothalamus. Right, students? So this pituitary gland is a master endocrine gland. Why? Because it controls the total endocrine system. But this one is in turn controlled by the hypothalamus. That's why hypothalamus is called as master control center. Okay, students. Pituitary gland contains two main parts. One is called as adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis. Other is the neurohypophysis. Neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis is also called as anterior lobe. Anterior lobe. Also called as pars distalis. Pars distalis. Adenohypophysis also called as anterior lobe of the pituitary gland or pars distalis. Next one is neurohypophysis, also called as posterior lobe of pituitary gland, also called as pars nervosa. Pars nervosa. Get a point? So these two are the main parts. But in the lower vertebrates, like for amphibians and fishes, there is an intermediate lobe present, median lobe present. But only in the lower vertebrates like amphibians and fishes, that's called as intermediate lobe. Intermediate lobe. And this is especially developed in the lower vertebrates like amphibians and fishes. But whereas in the higher vertebrates like mammals, including human beings, the intermediate lobe gets atrophied, degenerated, and getting mixed with the adenohypophysis or anterior lobe. Only in the lower vertebrates, intermediate lobe is conspicuous, it is well developed, whereas in the mammals, including human beings, this intermediate lobe almost becomes merged with the adenohypophysis. So we can say that intermediate lobe is almost a part of the anterior lobe here with this discussion. Okay, students. So the pituitary gland, also called as hypophysis, master endocrine gland, divided into two parts, adenohypophysis or anterior lobe or pars distalis, and next one is posterior lobe called as neurohypophysis, also called as pars nervosa here. Okay, students, this is the posterior lobe here. This is the posterior lobe and this is the anterior lobe and structurally associated with the hypothalamus here. The neurons, hypothalamic neurons, are arising from here. See here, hypothalamus, and extending up to the directly up to which one? Posterior lobe. Through a tract. What is the tract here? What is a hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract? I told you what is the tract in the previous discussion, isn't it? So this is a direct, that is in this way, the hypothalamus directly controls the posterior lobe through this hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. Whereas here, the hypothalamic neurons are present in the hypothalamus and they are reaching the hormones of the hypothalamic neurons here. Okay, releases the various hormones into the anterior pituitary. And what is present in between? There is a portal circulation present. Portal circulation. So these hormones, hypothalamic hormones, releases the secretions called as various hormones, neurohormones, to their nerve endings because they passes along the axons and releases through the nerve endings into the portal circulation. Through the portal circulation, the hypothalamic various hormones are releasing into the anterior lobe here. So what is the connection between the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary? That is called as a portal circulation, whereas the hypothalamus is in direct contact with the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. In this way, the posterior pituitary is in direct control with the hypothalamus. Okay, students? So let's discuss now what is the origin of this one. What is the origin of adenohypophysis? What is the origin of neurohypophysis? There is a dual origin here. Okay, students? I am rubbing the entire board. Okay. So I told you that both the lobes, anterior lobe and posterior lobe, has a different origins. Embryologically, they have the different origins. Okay. First of all, origin. Origin of anterior lobe. Adenohypophysis. What is the origin? Origin during the embryonic stages. Embryonic stages. What happens means the roof of the buccal cavity. For example, this is the roof of the buccal cavity. In the roof of the buccal cavity, this is the oral cavity, for example. Here is a roof, that is anterior side of the buccal cavity. In this one, there is an extension. There is a protuberance or extension like this here. During embryonic stages, the roof, this is the roof of the buccal cavity. There is an extension here like this, outpouch or an outpop. There is an outgrowth from the roof of the buccal cavity. Roof of the buccal cavity. This is called as a roof of the buccal cavity. There is an extension. This extension is called as Reytecks pouch. Reytecks pouch. What is Reytecks pouch? From the roof of the buccal cavity during the embryonic stages, there is an outgrowth which is derived from ectoderm. Derived from ectoderm during the embryonic stages. In the roof of the buccal cavity, there is an extension, outgrowth in the roof of the buccal cavity, and that is called as Reytecks pouch. This Reytecks pouch develops into which one? Anterior lobe of pituitary gland. Reytecks pouch later on develops into the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. As the pituitary gland anterior lobe develops, it gets dissociated from roof of the buccal cavity and becomes anatomically very closer to the neurohypophysis, that is posterior lobe. Clear, students? So this is the origin of anterior lobe. See here, this is the origin of anterior lobe. Next one, origin of posterior lobe here. What is the origin of posterior lobe? Neurohypophysis is a different origin from the posterior part of the hypothalamus. From the posterior part of the hypothalamus. For example, this is a structure of hypothalamus. For example, this is the posterior part now. This is the posterior part. In the posterior part, of the hypothalamus during the embryonic stages here. Don't forget this one. During embryonic stages we are discussing here. So this is the posterior part of the hypothalamus. There is an outgrowth here also. There is an outgrowth form here. A swelling and outgrowth form. And this is called as the infundibular process. What is this called as the infundibular process? This infundibular process develops into which one? Is nothing but here neurohypophysis or posterior lobe. So hypothalamus, the posterior part of hypothalamus. From this posterior part of hypothalamus, there develops the outgrowth. Outgrowth means a swelling like this here. An outgrowth is formed here like this. A swollen structure, the protuberance is formed from this one, which is derived from ectoderm here also. This is also ectoderm, this is also ectoderm. We derive from ectoderm. For the posterior part of hypothalamus, an extension is formed, derived from ectoderm, and that is called as the infundibular process. This infundibular process becomes which one? The posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. So what is the conclusion? From origin wise, embryological origins, posterior lobe has different origins and anterior lobe has different origins. That is why it is called as a dual origin. Dual origin here. What is the dual? Two. So anterior lobe has different origin as different from posterior lobe. So it is called as a dual origin here. So this is the third point. Next one. Various hormones released by the anterior lobe and posterior lobe. Let's discuss now. This is a crucial part of this discussion, please. So hormones of pituitary, hormones of anterior lobe and hormones of posterior lobe. The hormones of anterior lobe are called as protein hormones. They are called as the protein hormones. Whereas the hormones of posterior lobe are called as peptide hormones. Peptide hormones. The peptide hormones, it's in the very first discussion I told you, isn't it? What is peptide hormone? It should be having 3 minimum to 49 amino acids. 3 to 49 amino acids. They are called as a peptide hormone. Now, what is an example of amine hormone? Yes, we shall derive from single amino acid, I told you. Can you type in the comment box below, all of you students who are watching here right now? What is an example? 2 examples have given. What are the examples of the amine hormones? All of you type in the comment box below. So these are the peptide hormones. The hormones of the posterior lobe are called as peptide hormones, which are having the 3 to 49 amino acids are called as the peptide hormones. Now examples of peptide hormones are oxytocin and vasopressin. Vasopressin. Next one. Protein hormones. These should be having up to 49, isn't it? So here 50 amino acids minimum to 200 amino acids. 200 amino acids. That's called as a protein hormone. 50 to 200 amino acids is called as a protein hormone. The hormones released by the anterior lobe are called as a protein hormones here. Now 6 hormones are released by the anterior lobe here. How many hormones? 6 hormones are released here. They are called as protein hormones. We will be discussing within a few minutes here. Now we have to remember that the posterior lobe called as neurohypophysis never secretes any hormone. It only releases hormone, because I told you that the posterior lobe is in direct contact with which one? Hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. To the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. There is a tract by which the neurons directly release to the passed by the axon terminals, and they release which one? 2 neurohormones. What are the 2 neurohormones called as here? One is the oxytocin, other is called as the vasopressin. Actually, these are the hormones released by the hypothalamus. but reach the posterior lobe through which one? Axons of the hypothalamus to the nerve endings. The hypothalamus, this nerve endings, the neurons releases which one? The oxytocin and the vasopressin. And stored, these two hormones are called as neurohormones and stored in the posterior lobe. As and when required, the posterior lobe releases these hormones into the blood for metabolism. Clear, students? Whereas anterior lobe is also regulated by which one? Hypothalamus. Through two sets of hormones. What is that? Releasing hormones and the inhibiting hormones, I told you. Releasing hormones, they stimulate the anterior lobe, whereas inhibiting hormones, they inhibit the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland hormones. In this way, there is a balance is maintained to be released by the anterior lobe. And hormones released by the protein hormones are released by the anterior lobe. There are 50 to 200 amino acids. There are 6 hormones released here. And what are these 6 hormones? Let's discuss now. Clear, students? 6 hormones released by the anterior lobe. How many are there? 6 hormones are there. They are called as protein hormones, I told you. The first one, let's discuss what is the first one. First one is called as growth hormone. Growth hormone or human growth hormone, as the case may be. It's also called as somatotrophin. Somatotrophin. Growth hormone, as the name indicates, is responsible for the growth of the human body. You are growing to this size here. Why? Because of the growth hormone only. Now, how this growth hormone is affecting the growth? Let's discuss now. Number 1, growth hormone released by the anterior lobe into the blood. Because of the ductless glands, isn't it? That directly release the growth hormone into the blood. And from blood, they reach which one? One is they reach the liver. The growth hormone reach the liver, bone, muscle cells, and also muscle cells means striated muscle cells, bone cells, liver cells or hepatic cells, and also cartilage cells, etc. So somatotrophin, as released by the anterior lobe into the blood, through the blood, reaches the liver cells, bone cells, striated muscle cells and cartilage cells. As a result, the liver cells, bone cells, striated muscle cells, cartilage cells, etc. releases the insulin-like growth factors. Insulin-like growth factors into the blood. Again, IGFs, they are called as IGFs, insulin-like growth factors. So growth hormone, somatotrophin, released by the anterior lobe into the blood. From the blood, it reaches the liver cells, bone cells, striated muscle cells, cartilage cells. As a result, these stimulate the release of the insulin-like growth factors. What is that? Insulin-like growth factors. The insulin-like growth factors, IGFs I'm writing here, insulin-like growth factors have various effects on the human body. One is cell division in the body, cell growth, cell differentiation. Number 2, increased uptake of amino acids into the cell. Increased uptake of which one? Amino acids into the cell. When there is an increased uptake of amino acids in the cell, what happens? Protein biosynthesis happen. Protein anabolism, protein biosynthesis. As a result, bodybuilding, isn't it? Muscular growth. Because increased uptake of amino acids, more protein biosynthesis is a sign of anabolism, protein anabolism constructive process. Okay, students, that is protein synthesis is encouraged here. Next one is the insulin-like growth factors. They also stimulate the bone. For example, this is a long bone, epiphysis, diaphysis, and this is the metaphysis. Metaphysis contains the epiphyseal plates made of hyaline cartilage. In the bone structure we have already discussed, isn't it? Epiphysis of the long bone, diaphysis shaft, metaphysis which contains the epiphyseal plates. The epiphyseal plates are stimulated by which one? The epiphyseal plates are stimulated by insulin-like growth factors. Insulin-like growth factors are stimulating the epiphyseal plates present in the metaphysis. As a result, there is a bone elongation. Because of the bone elongation, the legs are growing, the hands are growing, the body is growing because of the bone elongation. Why there is a bone elongation? Because the epiphyseal plates present in the metaphysis are stimulated by insulin-like growth factors, and insulin-like growth factors are released by which one? Bone cells, liver cells, skeletal muscle cells, cartilaginous cells, blah 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 here. Why? Because the growth hormone is stimulating this. Growth hormone as released by the anterior lobe into the blood is stimulating the liver cells, etc., etc. As a result, these cells release the insulin-like growth factors, so that the insulin-like growth factors are going which one? Cell division, cell growth, cell differentiation in the human body, and also the protein biosynthesis, and also the insulin-like growth factors are stimulating the epiphyseal plates of the metaphysis. As a result, there is a bone elongation. As a result, the person is growing here. Isn't it? And also here like this. You follow students, all of you? That's the effect of the growth hormone. Human growth hormone, also called as somatotrophin. That is the first hormone, bacho. The second hormone, let's discuss. Now, second hormone to be released is the prolactin. Prolactin. Prolactin also called as lactogenic hormone. Lactogenic hormone. Lactogenic hormone. What is lacto? Lacto means milk. Lacto means milk. Genic means production. That is milk production hormone. As the name indicates, prolactin. One is responsible for development of the breasts and mammary glands. Development of the breasts and mammary glands in a girl. That is number one. Number two is it also initiates the secretion of milk. Secretion of milk, that is called as production of milk and sustenance of lactation. Is responsible for production and sustenance of lactation. That's why prolactin is called as a lactogenic hormone, where lacto means milk and genic means production. It's a milk production hormone by the development of the mammary glands in a female. And number two is production of the milk and sustenance of lactation in a female. Sustenance of lactation in a female. That is the first one. We say, for example, this one. And prolactin is also responsible for development of the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. Along with other hormones, prolactin also grows the corpus luteum. And corpus luteum releases a very important hormone called as progesterone. Progesterone. And this progesterone is especially responsible for pregnancy. Pregnancy maintenance. Maintenance of pregnancy is done by the progesterone. Sustenance of pregnancy or maintenance of pregnancy is done by the progesterone. Without progesterone, there is no question of any pregnancy maintenance, sustenance. And this progesterone is released by which one? Corpus luteum. In this crucial stage, the development of corpus luteum is also the responsibility of prolactin. Along with the lactation, it also is responsible for the development of the corpus luteum. That's why prolactin is also called as the luteotrophic hormone. Luteotrophic hormone. So what are the two names? One is the lactogenic hormone. One is a lactogenic hormone, number one. Other is a luteotrophic hormone. Lactogenic because milk production and sustenance of lactation, and luteotrophic because it is responsible for development of the corpus luteum along with some other hormones. Clear, students? So that is about the prolactin. Next one, the third one. Thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH hormone, is also released by the anterior pituitary gland into the blood, and straight away it comes to which one? Thyroid gland. The largest endocrine gland of the human body is the thyroid gland. So straight away it comes to the thyroid gland. And thyroid gland, which is present in the pharyngeal region, the thyroid gland is stimulated by the which one? Thyroid stimulating hormone. As the name indicates, it stimulates the thyroid gland. That's why it's called as the thyroid stimulating hormone, because it stimulates the thyroid gland. As a result, the thyroid gland releases the T3 and T4 hormones. T3 and T4 hormones. The details will be explained in some other next sessions. Okay, students. Triiodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine thyroxine hormones are released by the thyroid gland as a result of the stimulation done by the thyroid stimulating hormone, one of the hormone released by the anterior lobe. The fourth hormone now, let's discuss. ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone is released by the anterior pituitary gland. That is the fourth hormone. It is released in the blood and reaches the adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex. Where is adrenal cortex present? For this one, kidneys. Kidneys in the superior part consist of the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland, outer part is called as adrenal cortex, inner part is called as adrenal medulla. Outer part of the adrenal gland is called as adrenal cortex. The details will be explained in the future sessions, not now. Okay, students. Just remember that adrenal cortex is the external part of the adrenal gland. And this adrenal cortex is stimulated by which one? Adrenocorticotropic hormone. As released with the anterior lobe, and ACTH hormone straight away comes and stimulates which one? Adrenal cortex. As a result, the adrenal cortex releases the corticoid hormones. Corticoid hormones, called as corticoids. There are three different types of corticoids out there. One is the glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and sex corticoids. Sex corticoids here. So three types of corticoids are released with the adrenal cortex because adrenal cortex is stimulated by which one? ACTH hormone. The fourth hormone released by the anterior lobe. Next one. Fifth hormone is a follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. You know, this ovary, various stages of ovarian development, the details will be explained under human reproduction, not now, but it's a hormonal discussion. That's why I'm straight away going to the point. The ovarian follicles, various stages of ovarian follicles. Follicular development of which occurs in the ovaries, called as ovarian follicles. Primordial follicle develops in the primary, to the secondary, to the tertiary, and they gets matured, called as the Graafian follicle. So primordial follicle into the primary follicle, into the secondary follicle, into the tertiary follicle, and gets matured. The matured follicle is called as Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle. The Graafian follicle is formed in the ovary. And which one is responsible for development of these follicles? Follicle stimulating hormone. Because it stimulates the ovarian follicles. That's why it's called as the follicle stimulating hormone. Various stages of growth here, mature graphian follicle is also formed under the stimulated by which one? Follicle stimulating hormone, the hormone released by the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Okay, students, this is in the females. This is in the females. The follicle stimulating hormone, role of FSH in the females. And what's the role of FSH in the males? Role of FSH hormone in the males. B. In the males, the follicle stimulating hormone is responsible for spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis. That is during the formation of sperms. The follicle stimulating hormone has a crucial role. What is that role? Would be details will explain under human reproduction not law, because it's a discussion of hormones. Clear, students? So just remember that in the males, the follicle stimulating hormone has a key role in the spermatogenesis. That's it. In the females, development of the ovarian follicles. Okay, students. Next one is the sixth hormone, the last hormone released by the anterior lobe. That's called as the luteinizing hormone. LH hormone. What is that? Luteinizing hormone. I told you just now that Graafian follicle is formed inside the ovary. For example, this is the Graafian follicle rough diagram here. I can't draw all these diagrams here, right? Isn't it? So here, this is the Graafian follicle. Inside the Graafian follicle, there is a secondary oocyte which is formed here. Secondary oocyte, which is nothing but ovum or secondary oocyte. So because of the influence of luteinizing hormone, as a result, what happens? This is ruptured. The Graafian follicle is ruptured. This is a Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle. How the Graafian follicle is formed? By the primordial, in the primary, in the secondary, in the tertiary, which gets matured, and the matured follicle is called as the Graafian follicle, and that is under the influence of the follicle stimulating hormone. Once it is formed, the luteinizing hormone takes the place of FSH here, because the rupture, what is the rupture first of all? The rupture means the breakage of this Graafian follicle. Inside, what is present? What is this one? Ovum. So that when the rupture of Graafian follicle happens, the ovum is released here, and this process is called as ovulation. The process of release of ovum is called as ovulation. And all these is occurring under the stimulation of luteinizing hormone. That's the first important role of luteinizing hormone. The rupture of Graafian follicle and the release of secondary oocyte or ovum, ovulation. All these are the key role done by the luteinizing hormone. That is the first function here. Ovulation and rupture of Graafian follicle and ovulation. Clear, students? Number 2. When the rupture of Graafian follicle happens, there is a place, isn't it? There is some space. This space is occupied by which one? Corpus luteum here. This is occupied by a very important structure called as corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. The corpus luteum, just now I told you that it secretes a hormone called as progesterone, isn't it? Progesterone. And progesterone is essential for maintenance of pregnancy. Without progesterone, there is no pregnancy. And this progesterone is a hormone released by the corpus luteum. Where is corpus luteum formed? The corpus luteum is formed in the place of the ruptured Graafian follicle. Where the Graafian follicle is ruptured, broken, in that place, what is formed here? The Graafian follicle ruptured, in its place, the corpus luteum is formed. What is formed? The corpus luteum is formed here. And the corpus luteum releases a maintenance, here, very important hormone called as progesterone here. Now, which one is responsible for the formation of corpus luteum here? Luteinizing hormone here, LH hormone, is responsible for the formation of corpus luteum in the place of ruptured Graafian follicle, so that the corpus luteum secretes a progesterone hormone, so that the progesterone hormone is essential for the maintenance of pregnancy. All these are done by the luteinizing hormone. That is the first function. What is second function? What is the first function? Rupture of Graafian follicle, release of ovum, that is ovulation, first function. The second function is, in the ruptured Graafian follicle place, the corpus luteum is formed, so that progesterone is released. That is the second function of the luteinizing hormone. The third function is also there. What is the third function? Let's discuss now. The third function is, I told you that various ovarian follicles are formed, isn't it? from this one, estrogen hormone is released here. Estrogen, the female sex hormone, is released here from the follicles. That's also the responsibility of the luteinizing hormone. Estrogen is the female sex hormone. The chief estrogen is estradiol. The female secondary sexual characters are because of the estrogen, the female sex hormone. Okay, students. So 3 roles are assigned mainly to the luteinizing hormone. This is in the case of females. This is in the case of females here. And what's the role of luteinizing hormone in the males? What's the role of luteinizing hormone in the males? Let's discuss now. In the males, the luteinizing hormone. In the males, the luteinizing hormone is called as interstitial cell stimulating hormone. In the males, the luteinizing hormone is called as which one? The interstitial cell stimulating hormone. So, interstitial cell stimulating hormone, as the name indicates, it stimulates the interstitial cells of Leydig. Interstitial cells of Leydig, also called as Leydig cells. The Leydig cells are present in the testis. The testis are the male gonads. In the testis, the interstitial cells of Leydig are present, or simply called as Leydig cells. And these are stimulated by which one? Interstitial cell stimulating hormone. The interstitial cell stimulating hormone is nothing but the male variant of luteinizing hormone. It's nothing but luteinizing hormone, but there is a special name given in the males. What is that special name given to the males? In the case of this, what is that? Interstitial cell stimulating hormone, which stimulates the interstitial cells of Leydig or Leydig cells which are present in the testis. So that the Leydig cells releases the androgens. What are androgens? The male sex hormones. Estrogens are the female sex hormones. Androgens of the male sex hormones are released by the Leydig cells. Okay, Leydig cells are present in the testis because the Leydig cells are stimulated which one? Interstitial cell stimulating hormone. And that is a male variant of which one? Luteinizing hormone. Okay, students. So these are the various hormones here. Now, luteinizing hormone along with the follicle stimulating hormone are called as gonadotrophins. Gonadotrophins here. What are the gonadotrophins? One is FSH hormone, other is a luteinizing hormone. All of you are watching now. All of you type in the comment box. What are the 2 gonadotrophins? All of you type in the comment box below. They're called as gonadotrophins. This is about the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Now let's come into the intermediate lobe or median lobe. Pars, also called as pars media. Pars media. Next one is the intermediate lobe, also called as pars media. Actually, intermediate lobe is well developed, as I already told you, well developed in the lower vertebrates like fishes and amphibians. But in the higher vertebrates like mammals, the intermediate lobe is degenerated, atrophied during the embryonic stages, not well developed during the embryonic stages. Hence, it gets almost associated with the anterior lobe or pars distalis or adenohypophysis. So structurally, there is no difference between the anterior lobe and the intermediate lobe. But for the sake of convenience, let's assume that there is an intermediate lobe, and this intermediate lobe releases a hormone called as melanocyte stimulating hormone. Melanocyte stimulating hormone. That is the hormone released here. Melanocyte stimulating hormone, simply called as MSH hormone, released by the intermediate lobe. Its role in the lower vertebrates is crucial. Because what's the role in the lower vertebrates? For example, see here, melanocyte. What is a cyte first of all? Cyte means the cell. Melano. Why melano? Because the cell which contains a melanin is called as a melanocyte. The cell which contains a melanin. What is melanin? which is giving the black color to your hair, black color to your eyeball, black color to your skin. The melanin deposition, that is dark pigmentation. If too much melanin pigmentation is there, the person is darker. Medium complexion, very less deposition of melanin in the skin, very fair. Getting your point, students? So site means a cell. The melanin containing cell is called as melanocyte. So in the lower vertebrates like frogs and fishes, the melanocytes are well developed here, and this is the melano here, total skin, and these are the melanocytes, for example, and which contains the which one? This is the melanin pigment. Getting your point? So melanocyte stimulating hormone MSH is released by the intermediate lobe, so that all the melanin is concentrated in which one? Melanocyte. See here, actually concentrated in which one? The melanocytes. Because of the stimulating hormone, these cells are stimulated. These are called as melanocytes. And melanocytes are stimulated by melanocyte stimulating hormone. As a result, what happens? There is a dispersion. There is a spreading of this one here. See here. There is a spreading of this melanin here. Because of the stimulation, the cells become lighter like this. Because all the melanin is going to which one? Surroundings. Dispersion means spreading. Why there is a dispersion? Because melanocyte stimulating hormone is stimulating the melanocytes, so that there is a spreading of this, isn't it? There is a spreading of this melanin into the surrounding places. As a result, the skin becomes darker. The skin becomes darker here. Melanocyte stimulating hormone. Whereas in the mammals like human beings, the role of melanocyte stimulating hormone is almost very much negligible, not important. Just remember that it is responsible for the deposition of dark coloration or melanin in the developing hair shaft. Developing hair shaft contains the black color. It's because of the melanocyte stimulating hormone. That's the responsibility of MSH in the higher vertebrates like mammals, including the humans. That's all about the intermediate lobe. Next one is the posterior lobe, called as neurohypophysis. Now, posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, neurohypophysis, also called as pars nervosa. I told you already that it is structurally very closely associated with hypothalamus, isn't it? Directly this hypothalamus, for example, the neurons are directly coming to which one? What is this one here? This is the posterior lobe, for example, this is the posterior lobe, and this is the hypothalamus. This is the neurons. These are the neurons, for example. The neurons are directly releasing these hormones along the axons, and these are the nerve endings. Okay, that is directly the hypothalamus is controlling the posterior lobe. Directly controlling here, because the neurons which are arising in the hypothalamus are extending up to the posterior lobe and releasing the hormones which are passing along the axons to the nerve endings, so that the posterior lobe contains the hormones. The posterior lobe never secretes any hormone. Just remember this point. Very important point. The posterior lobe never secretes any hormone. Never secretes any hormone. Just remember this point. Very, very important point. It never secretes any hormone. But receives the two neurohormones. What are the two neurohormones I told you? One is called as oxytocin. Number one. Other is called as vasopressin. Vasopressin. These are called as neurohormones. Neurohormones. Because the hormone which is arising from the neural part called as hypothalamus, because it's a part of the brain. Hypothalamus is a part of the brain. That's why neurohormone, because the hormone which is released by the neural structure called as here hypothalamus. That's why neurohormone release two hormones are released here into the posterior lobe, and the posterior lobe stores these neurohormones here. Posterior lobe stores these two hormones and releases into the blood when the body requires these hormones here. But remember this point, the posterior lobe never secretes any hormones. Never secretes any hormones here. Clear much all of you. Now what is the role of this oxytocin? What is the role of vasopressin? Now let's discuss the role of oxytocin. Oxytocin. Oxytocin, number one, acts on the smooth muscles. Smooth muscles. Oxytocin acts on the smooth muscles, and when acts on smooth muscles, they contract. Contraction of the smooth muscles present in the human body. That's the first role. The second role is vigorous uterine contractions. Uterine contractions. During the childbirth, parturition, the uterus must be, actually uterus, myometrium. One of the ball is called as myometrium. The myometrium is present in the uterine ball. For example, here is a perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. Middle one is called as the myometrium. The myometrium contains the smooth muscles. The smooth muscles, vigorous contraction, very strong contractions happen. Why the vigorous uterine contractions happen? Because the release of which one? Oxytocin. When the oxytocin is released here, the vigorous uterine contractions occur so that the child is coming out during the parturition, that is childbirth or delivery here. Okay, students, that is the second function. And third is, it also stimulates the mammary glands. Mammary glands for the lactation. I told you that prolactin, along with prolactin, oxytocin is also responsible for lactation. It stimulates the milk from the nipples in the females here, from the mammary glands here. Okay, students, it's also a happiness hormone here. Happiness hormone. Happiness hormone, oxytocin. So these are the roles of this oxytocin. It's a neurohormone. Next one is a vasopressin. Let's discuss what is the role of vasopressin. Vasopressin is also a neurohormone released by the hypothalamus to the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. It is coming to the neurohypophysis and storing there. So I am writing this total flow chart. All of you write on this chart. Hypothalamus releases the vasopressin, and it is reaching, the vasopressin is reaching which one? Neurohypophysis. NH, I'm writing here. Neurohypophysis, and stores here. And when body requires this one, it is released into which one? Blood. Through the blood, it is directly reaching which one? Two structures, DCT, distal convoluted tubule, and collecting duct of the nephron. You know, this here is a proximal convoluted tubule, here Henle's flow, and this is a DCT here. This is a DCT, and here is a collecting duct, isn't it? Here is a collecting duct. This is a DCT, and this is a collecting duct. So the vasopressin, when it is required, for example, if the human being is having present the desert, is not having water, what should be done? The urine should be very lesser, and that should be concentrated now. Already he is facing the crisis of dehydration. If he is losing water, he will die. But it's not happening, because there is a mechanism present here. What is that? Vasopressin released by the hypothalamus. Because this person is facing the problem of which one? Dehydration. So what is the solution now? Very lesser quantities of urine and very concentrated quantities of urine should be coming out, because he can't afford to lose more water, because he's already facing the problem of dehydration. Dear students, the question is, how the hypothalamus knows that the vasopressin should be released? Because the hypothalamus contains the receptors. The receptors present in the hypothalamus. Receptors are stimulated because of the dehydration. Dehydration in the human body, the receptors of the hypothalamus are stimulated, so that the hypothalamus releases the vasopressin and coming to the neurohypophysis and storing there, and now releasing it into the blood, so that to the blood it is directly coming. The vasopressin is coming to which one? DCT and the collecting that, and increasing reabsorption of water and sodium. Water and sodium here, so that more water is reabsorbed, less urine is lost, less water is lost, that to concentrated urine. That's why the diuresis is prevented. What is prevented here? The diuresis is prevented here with this arrangement here. Diuresis is prevented. What is by diuresis? Increase of more dilute urine. The loss of more dilute urine, which leads to the dehydration, is called as diuresis. Here the diuresis is prevented. Why? Because increasing renal reabsorption of water from the DCT and the collecting tract. From the intestine into the interstitium, then into the blood, isn't it? So, as a result, the diuresis is prevented. That's why the vasopressin is called as anti-diuretic hormone. Anti-diuretic hormone here. Okay, students, all of you? So, these are the various hormones released by the pituitary gland. In the next session, we will be discussing the disorders of pituitary gland. Okay, students? When you want the session, all of you type in the comment box below.